Hi, Tony here, welcome to the channel. You find me on the 790 Adventure. I've dug it out of mothballs. Yes, I still own it, but yes, it is also up for sale. But I'm on this today because I'm just heading to KTM HQ at Silverstone to collect an 890 Adventure. Now I thought I'd do something a little bit different for this video, because normally I'll collect a press bike and I'll ride it for a week or 2 weeks as much as I can, collect all the information, get to understand the bike, so that I can bring you a very kind of rounded review and put it in first gear, donut. But this time I thought, well, it's an 890 Adventure, it's been around for a while, and I just want to kind of bring a feel to how that differs. But it seemed like a good opportunity as well to do a bit more of a long-term review on the 790, because potentially I won't have it for much longer. I'm a little bit conflicted as to whether to sell it or not, because I do really love this bike. I wanted to dispel a couple of myths, because you always get that with KTM. Whenever I've done anything based around KTM, you'll always get the jokers that come on going, oh, they're unreliable, keep taking money, blah 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 blah. This bike I bought used, admittedly, but I haven't had any problems with it. It's had one recall. Outside of that, I've had no real issues with it. I get the little bit of condensation in the clock. You can see a little bit there just on the edges. It just sort of sits in the corner. It doesn't ever kind of get in the way of the display so that you can't see what's going on. It's sort of slow if I say it now, but it's never broken down on me. I did that 2,500 mile trip to Poland and back, and it didn't miss a beat with that. Always starts first time. I've really had a great ownership experience with this bike, no issues with it at all. Anyway, I'm going to crack on to KTM. It looks like from the forecast I am going to get wet at some point. I won't bother showing you this journey. The next time you see me, we'll be looking at the 2023 KTM 890 Adventure. So as you can see, the weather has slightly impacted my plans. The idea was to show you this bike at KTM, have it stood next to the 790, but it was absolutely tipping down with rain, and this is the lightest the rain has been since excuse me, just wiping the lens. This is the lightest the rain has been in the whole of my journey back, so that's kind of hampered things a little bit. Essentially, underneath this bike and the previous looking 890 are identical. There's been a few tweaks. The biggest one, obviously the biggest change, has been the bodywork, the screen, and those sort of bits and pieces. So I wanted to give my first impressions of that, and actually the fact that it has been raining for my journey home is good in a sense, because one of the biggest issues I had with the previous shape KTM, having ridden my one over to Poland and back, is that there wasn't that much weatherproofing. You had a screen which was frankly awful, we'll get onto that, but you had nothing at the front here. You had little sort of scoops that sat underneath the headlight, but they didn't really seem to do anything, so you really got the bulk of the weather on you when you're riding in the rain. Almost like riding a naked bike, if I'll be honest. And so my first impressions of this is it is a massive improvement. Let's start with that screen. The previous screen was awful, I hated it. I changed that as soon as I could. It's just got it's got a simple kind of one bolt fixing in the middle of it, but it used to rattle around. It sat quite a way back. It was really noisy, created lots of buffeting. It was terrible, didn't like it at all. This one, however, is a completely different setup. It's a little bit taller and a little bit narrower, much more rigid. They've sorted out that there's no wobbling around. It's mounted properly to this new front end, and you'll see there's a big hole in there in the middle which is supposed to aid airflow, and I have to say it works. I still get a bit of wind noise. You will get wind noise on your helmet with any kind of screen really, but I'm not getting any buffeting or turbulence. I'm just getting a little bit of wind noise. It's a massive improvement over the last one. I would be quite happy to run this screen full time. I wouldn't want to change this for anything else. I've no problems whatsoever with that. So screen, massive improvement. The other thing are these side panels. They make the bike look so much better, I think, aesthetically, from looking at the bike. Big improvement on that, but it's also a massive improvement on the riding experience as well. You do have a little bit to stick your knees behind. It pushes the wind out around you, it pushes the rain out around you. Just been riding in the rain, does a fantastic job, so it's a really good test. I'm not getting any sort of turbulence or anything. I don't really notice it, so again, a massive improvement on that. There's a couple of other things where there's improvement before I delve into a little bit more detail. Firstly, the seat. KTM seats always hard. Now, I don't necessarily mind a hard seat. Sometimes they can be a little bit more comfortable. When I jumped on this, the first time I sat down, I was like, oh my god, they've changed the seat, they've improved the seat. It's plush. I've now been riding this for about 2 hours. I don't feel the need to get off and rest my butt. Yeah, another massive improvement. It seems narrower at the front than it was before. So although this bike isn't a particularly tall adventure bike, I can get my feet down on the ground very easily on this. It seems to be a little bit easier because of the change in the profile of the seat, so that's another improvement. And then the final improvement is this TFT screen. This is an all new screen. It's kind of got the layout similar, or colour scheme and everything similar to the 1290 Super Adventure. You've still got the same set of controls, nothing's changed on this side, just a simple up and down buttons, but a really nice display. And again, as ever with KTM, they don't mess around and put anything that doesn't need to be on there. There's no animations. Well, actually there's a few, because if you start delving into it, but they've used all of the real estate of that screen to good effect. I can see what my ABS setting is, I can see what my traction control is on, I've got the time, temperature, fuel range, rev counter, gear selector, everything that you need, and it's very easy to flick through those given the controls on the left here. And look at this, oh, for the first time in a couple of hours I've got dry roads. Oh, that engine is absolutely fantastic, a proper peach. So from a point of view about this being an adventure tour, I think it's a much more complete bike now. It looks better, you've got a much better screen, you've got much better weather protection from the bodywork. It's still an absolute blast to ride on the road, but it's also a bike that gives you tons of confidence off-road as well. Now obviously the 890 Adventure's sibling, the R, is a much more off-road focused bike. Much better suspension, longer travel, taller bike overall. If you're serious about your off-roading, then that's the one you're going to choose. But this is still quite an off-road focused bike in its standard form. 200mm of travel, 233mm of ground clearance. The standing position is nice and narrow at the knees. I would put risers on it. I put risers on my 790, just some, I think 25 or 30mm risers, just to get the bars up high, just to make it a little bit more comfortable for standing. But already I can feel that the suspension is better. I've been through here on my 790 and I do start to push through the stroke quite quickly, and I've got no way of changing that. But obviously on this bike you can, but as it is at the factory, this doesn't feel too bad actually. As I say, if your off-road ambitions are, more extreme, the R is a great version, but this, I would say, would take me places that are beyond my capabilities. Anywhere that I couldn't ride this would be down to me, not down to the bike. So I've still got slip on the rear wheel there in off-road mode. Obviously you can vary the amount in rally mode, but in off-road mode it still gives you that little bit of that slip. Oh, that's a big thought. There we go. But yeah, this is for me more than capable enough for what I would ever need and for what most of the people would ever need. Super comfy through there. You can really feel the plushness of that suspension. You can have a little skid at the finish as well. And we can give you a quick demo of the engine because it is just fantastic. So third gear here at 30 miles an hour, and the punch from this motor is phenomenal. Really does get on this bike. As a road bike, it's really good fun. It's a quick bike, you can really hustle it along, but then it's really confidence inspiring off-road as well. For me, as an all-round package, it's always been a great bike, and with the changes that they've made for 2023, it just pushes it over the edge. Yeah, price wise it's not cheap, shall we say. This is where you have to work out what you think is value for money. The bike as standard is 11,999. If you want to switch on the quick shifter, you'll have to pay for it. If you want to switch on the cruise control, I believe you'll have to pay for it. Heated grips are an accessory anyway. They are wired up through this, so you used to have my 790's got a button. This is now run through the system, but you still have to pay obviously for heated grips, which is the case for a lot of bikes. And then you've got the rally mode, and you can buy various different packs. I'll put all the details on the screen because I can never remember exactly how they are. If you fully load that up, then you know this is not a cheap motorcycle. It starts to add up. And people say then, well, you're in GS money. But I don't like the fact that the GS is always put there as a benchmark. The GS is a different machine to this, really. It is bigger, it is heavier. I think in terms of the middleweight market, for me this stands out as the one that I would go for, given how I ride, where I ride, what my ambitions for riding are. And I'm not going to get into this whole demo thing that they did. I don't really know how to view it. You could take two sides. You can go, well, yeah, it's cynically all of those parts are on the bike and they've just switched them on, so why pay extra for them? You could also say it's given you a great opportunity to try those things and decide what you want, and then that's factored into the price of the bike. The price of the bike is lower from the start. For example, the rally mode, I've got the rally mode switched on my 790. Having had that on there, would I bother to pay for that if I had one of these? I don't think I would, no. So, you know, there's a few £100 I would have saved from having used the rally mode to go, you know what, actually I don't really use that very much at all. So yeah, you can argue about that in the comments if you want. For me it just depends on how cynical you want to be. Negatives for this, well, the only one really is it still puts out quite a bit of heat. There is still a lot of heat that kicks out from that cap, which is right between your feet. I'm noticing it more now because it's 25 degrees today. Actually got a bit of a summer's day, which is good. But you notice that in the winter, obviously no issue, keeps you warm, it's good. All in all, super fun bike to ride, manoeuvrable, good off-road, good on-road, lots of nice kit. You've got things like they've still retained the 12 volt cigarette style power socket there, but they've also added a USB socket there as well, so you've got two if you want to run heated gear, if you want to charge your sat nav or phone or whatever, or run it from that, you've got that as well. I really do like this bike. Okay, well this looks like as good a place as any. It also means I can ditch my waterproof trousers, but there we go. I've got my little SW-Motec road pack on the back, which is what I normally take when I'm picking up press bikes, because I've yet to find a bike that I've not been able to strap that onto. You've still got that pointed headlight and these kind of scoops, but instead of being down there and the big point coming here, that bodywork rolls up into that, which I think is a massive improvement. Slightly different shape to the bottom. I think he's lost 1 litre of fuel capacity because of the change. So we've now the bash plate on the original one sat on the inside, and it now comes around on the outside. Having crashed one of these, as I have, not this one, not one of these, but my 790 at the ABR festival, I can testify that you don't really need crash bars for it. I had quite a tumble, not on tarmac admittedly, landing on this, and this part and the end of that took the brunt. I had a little bit of a mark on the screen from a camera that I had on that hit it, but that was it. Now comes with Pirelli Scorpion Trail STRs. Nice on the road, pretty good on dirt surfaces like this. But I am going to put my lightweight gloves back on, which are in here, and I am going to ditch my waterproof trousers. So there you have it then. KTM have taken, in my opinion, what was already a very good adventure bike and have just improved it. This screen and the whole of the bodywork and setup at the front end make a massive difference both on the motorway, particularly in wet weather. Much better protection than you had before. Suspension, the TFT, the more comfortable seat, all of the things that were a little bit of a bugbear of mine have now been fixed. So for me, I still think this is my favourite middleweight adventure bike. It's just such a joy to ride, and with all of those changes, I think they've made it a real travel bike, which is what they advertise it as. I think that's about all I wanted to include in this video. So if you have got any questions, let me know in the comment section down below. I do look forward to reading the comments, particularly about the demo mode. People get really hot under the collar about that sort of stuff. Yeah, if you've got anything else you want to know, then just ask me. I will try to get back to everybody. I always try to answer every single question in my comments. I've done that ever since I started the channel. It might take me a little while to get back to you, but I will definitely try to do that. So get commenting. If you haven't already, like and subscribe. That would be very much appreciated. And until next time, all that leaves me to say is thanks for watching. Take care, ride safe, and I'll see you soon. Bye.